Let's sum up the trading action from last week in 3 words: headline driven market. Both to the upside and the downside, but in the end, the Bulls came through for a good week. Strong close on Friday. We're following through right up near all-time highs. Will Q3 earnings season help out? We really get going this week. GM and Tesla are set to give us some earnings. Netflix, a biggie. So we'll get some tech. What else are we going to do today? We're going to talk to Craig Johnson at 8:35. And I really like his title for his talk. I'll share that with you when he comes on. As I said, at 8:35. Analysts busy over the weekend. I guess they weren't watching football. We got a lot of analyst rated changes, and we're going to get things started here. It's a Monday. It's pre-market prep. We're fired up for you, folks.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, let's get things started. As I said, we are in the green, 20 and a quarter handle, 62, 67, 22.75. Not that far from last week's high. We'll see what we can do this week. The buck is up 18 cents, 98.37. Not a good week last week. TLT flat, CPI on Friday. Yes, folks, the government is closed, but we're going to get CPI data on Friday. USO trying to catch a bid under 70. No can do. Trading near yesterday's low, so there's some hope for you oil bulls up there. GLD just rebounds from the red day on Friday, up 467, 399.66. SLV up not nearly as much, trying to recover from Friday. That's up 22 cents at 47.21. Bitcoin futures, well, if you were buying the dip under 105, you're being rewarded. Bitcoin futures up $4,500, 111,180. Let's stop the screen share here, and little bit of a different show today. It's me and the Brentster. Brentster got up early, pressed his shirt, combed his hair, combed his beard, and Triple D was in Vegas over the weekend, and all indications are he's behaving himself. That's the what do they call it? A channel check, like right?
Like when boots on the ground.
Yeah,
I like channel check. Yeah. So did
Yep.
you talk to Triple D? Did he say Vegas was busy?
He sent me a picture of a place that he was going to go into, and it had very cheap drinks. And I said, okay, well, take it easy. And he goes, I am. The wedding was actually tonight or last night, and
Cool.
you know what? He's going to be with Bob Bright's going to be at that wedding too, and Tammy
that's cool.
Bright. So I told
cool.
Dennis, offer Bob a really good deal on sponsoring the show.
Yeah.
And if you want a person, I know a person it's hard to get a good deal out of, it's Bob Bright. But, yep. Triple D is, I think he's trying to trade on his phone at the airport. Is that what he said? He was going to try and trade out of his overnight stuff?
Sounds like a nightmare, but I'm sure if anyone can do it, it can be the Triple D trader. How was your weekend, Joel?
My weekend was good. My buddy came in. He's been coming in every year for a Michigan football game since 1985, since we graduated. Went up, beautiful day, 75 degrees. Michigan pulled out a victory. I just will say, man, I am afraid of those Ohio State Buckeyes. They are unbelievable. So I'm preparing myself mentally after my Thanksgiving dinner. But
I hear you.
You know people.
Joel, I was in Ohio this week. I went to Cleveland. There was a lot of Buckeye fans. There's a lot of Ohio State fans out there. So maybe you should be a little nervous.
Okay, so what you did is you rented a car, right, with out-of-state license plates, right? Because you don't want to drive in anywhere in Ohio with Michigan license plates.
Al was going the speed limit the whole way. Yes. This is the thing in the Midwest. You don't mess around in Ohio. Even if you're being a good boy or girl, you still want to keep it together in Ohio.
You got it. All right. Well, as I mentioned in our opening, kind of a headline-driven market last week, huh?
It really was. It really was. Will that continue this week? Well, we do have a lot of things on the radar. We have a meeting between delegations from the US and China this week in Malaysia. We have Trump and Xi themselves scheduled to meet on October 31st. I think that is next Friday, a couple Fridays. We also, of course, have earnings on deck this week. We're really kind of getting into the heart of earnings season here this week. And then, like you said, we also get our CPI reading, our first CPI reading in maybe a month and a half, maybe even. You kind of hinted, Joel, when you were doing the monologue, but I think the government just wanted to leak a little bit of data out there. So they kind of chose, what is that, the 24th, October 24th, to release some of that CPI data. We can maybe get to a little preview of that a little bit later in the show. But Joel, if you want to just start off here with kind of some of the expectations that we might want to hear the delegations in Malaysia between the US and China. Trump made a list over the weekend of top issues that he thinks China and Xi need to resolve. Number one was rare earths. And we've been saying for, a good few months now, it's kind of an odd thing, I think, to most people that rare earths are such a concern here. But that was the very top thing for Trump. Fentanyl was number two, and soybeans and farmers was number three. Any quick thoughts here on expectations going into this delegation meeting this week?
Man, that is that's one tough question. The easy one is fentanyl, because we don't, I don't know if there's a fentanyl stock, so you don't know how that's going to be, that's affected. So, but that's an important issue, and views the administration. The rare earths have just come into play. I mean, we got
Yep.
MP materials. I mean, ever since the government took a stake in it, the thing has been on fire. I really don't know what the expectations, what Trump wants out of this, what she is willing to offer. But this has been a hot trade. We've been following these rare earth stocks. Actually, started following, months ago with Shad Markowitz, who joins us on STN every 2 weeks. It's just been a strong trade. So I don't know what the expectations are to come out of this. The price action here is pretty one way. A little bit of a pullback last week. I'll just do a quick technical here for MP Materials. Trading up here a $1.67 in the pre-market. This is easy. You basically have had a 20-point drop, which is absolutely nothing in the whole scheme of things when this thing was under $30 in June. So simple math. I mean, is this thing going to get halfway back? Are we going to get to 89.5, 90? Consolidate a little bit and then make a move higher. What your MP bulls have to worry about here is this rally comes up short of any kind of meaningful retracement, comes up short of Thursday's high at 91.99. Actually, first things first, let's take care of Friday's high at 84.15. See
Right.
if the momentum is really back in this stock. But warning signs. That's all I could say is for
Sure.
the MP materials, warning signs. They gave you a red candle. They gave a big red candle. They gave you another big red candle. Green candle on Friday. Of course, we always talk about the lows for the week on a Friday or a Monday.
Mhm.
Let's see if MP found a bottom here after this 20-point sell-off.
Thanks, Joel. So if we're kind of staying on the macro here for a sec, just a little update from a discussion on Thursday between Trump and Ukraine Zelensky. We kind of didn't really hear about details until later on Friday, but while we're talking about it, let's just give a little update. So Trump and Zelensky had a phone call late Thursday. There was a White House official, White House team member that came out over the weekend and gave a little update on that call. That person said the call kind of devolved into a, quote, shouting match. One thing here that a WSJ article I was looking at highlighted was that Trump told Zelensky that Putin would destroy Ukraine if Zelensky doesn't agree to cede over the Donbas region in Ukraine. Tensions remain here with the U.S. and obviously China and obviously Ukraine and Vladimir Putin of Russia. but we have a little bit of time here, the rest of October, to kind of like, hopefully for traders, get some of these resolved.
I think, didn't I say tongue in cheek on Friday that, or before they were meeting, well, let's just hope they don't get in a fight, or
I think
something about
I
what.
mean, you were kind of joking about it. Maybe you shouldn't have joked about it, Joel.
Yeah. Well, let's just uh let's just wrap this up by saying that that war is not over, right?
Yeah,
Far from over. And some of the developments in the Middle East over the weekend
sure.
uh don't exactly give you a warm fuzzy feeling that that ceasefire is going to hold up. So
Sure.
whatever expectations you had for the market on these peace agreements, little bit of skepticism out there. But hey, if we can take care of the Middle East, which has been going on a couple thousand years, and take care of the Ukraine, well, that certainly should be great for the markets. But as far as I'm concerned here, not great developments on either front.
Sure, and that's kind of just where we wanted to like just give you a little update on that. Let's kick over to a little bit more like stock specific corporate news here. There was a big outage over the weekend, Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Services outage, and the stock, looking at the stock, it did seem like it reacted right around futures open time. Amazon started pulling back from around the 215 level, fell below the 212 level, rebounded a little, but I mean, we're still down a couple bucks here, it seems like, on that outage. And something that, I think we should basically like give a little reminder here is when we put a lot of eggs in our one basket here, when we have so many services and apps and video games on AWS, all on their servers. Amazon was down, Snapchat was down, Disney Plus was down, Reddit was down. There is a design app that a lot of people use called Canva, that was down. Coinbase was down. Roblox was down for a while. Fortnite, another extremely popular video game, was also down, and all because all of these places are using AWS to support some of their data and their servers.
Although, man, there must have been a lot of panicked Americans out there.
Not my Roblox. Don't take my
No,
Roblox down.
my Roblox, I better look on Snapchat. No, Reddit has the answer. No, let's go to whatever. Um, you know what? I'm not going to focus too much on that, because I mean it's bad news, right? And you did to get the spike down. But what
Mhm,
I'm going to focus on is this Amazon chart does not look good. Does not look good at all. And I'm going to make the daily a little bit bigger. First of all, look how far this thing is from all-time high. This is a
mhm,
ways away from all-time high. This is 238.85. All right. That was back in September. So Amazon is not confirming this is a roaring bull market. Amazon is not confirming that we're going back up to all-time highs. I mean, it's a component, right? It's a big component of the index. Secondly, look what that 50-day moving average is. That 50-day moving average is way up at 225 and a quarter. So even before you can start thinking about this thing turning around, you got 12 points to even get to the 50-day moving average. Also,
mhm,
look at, you had and we talked about this level going back a few weeks. We talked about 216. Well, 212 is the new 216, and that took it out on Friday, going to 211. So here it's flat on the session, but just throwing out this news. I mean, their earnings are a little bit later in the quarter, but it had a red bar last month when the market had a pretty good bar, and it's working on another red bar. And if you go back to that situation which you had in early 2005, they're not as big red candles, but February, March, and you all know what happened in April. So the technicals are just not favorable at Amazon. If you're looking to buy the dip, well, you have that 211 low to lean on. But man, on the turn up here, well, there's a lot of resistance here for Amazon. So long time great performer, but right now, not helping out the overall index.
Rob asking a good question here. He asked, what was the root cause of the outage? According to AWS, they cited an operational issue affecting multiple services, said it was working on multiple parallel paths to accelerate recovery. That was kind of it. I don't know what value we get out of kind of understanding what those outages. I don't know if a company ever really gives like the root cause of an outage. And then we also had Michael Crockett here highlighting that Robinhood was down too. Seems that they probably use AWS. And that's a little bit of a nice segue for a next topic that we wanted to talk about, something that you had on your radar over the weekend, Joel. Robinhood said it was going to add 100 plus new prediction market contracts powered by Kalshi via Robinhood. Robinhood has really just been like diversifying out for quite some time. On pre-market prep and SCN, especially Dennis. Dennis like loves Vlad and loves what Robinhood is doing. You gotta wonder with Robinhood getting into even more prediction market stuff and showing that they really want to leverage this part of their business moving forward. Are they just going to eat others' lunch like a Webull or other platforms and exchanges? And Webull does offer prediction market stuff from Kalshi, but it seems like Robinhood is just getting so much further ahead than a lot of these other platforms and exchanges. What do you think, Joel?
Boy, I tell you, I mean, this could be like a 35, 40-minute discussion here on prediction markets
Yeah,
and where things are going. Robinhood, this Kalshi it's like taking over the world. I
yeah.
mean, it is. I've been messing around a little bit on it.
Hmm.
Man, you just have to think about where this all could go. I mean, with the prediction markets, it's a whole new way of sports betting, which was
Yeah,
around in the early 2000s, which I participated in. But just to give you a quick snapshot of it, and our listeners, you know how there's like a spread on every game,
yeah, sure.
right? And so if you bet the game before the spread, right? There's a 50-50 chance, right?
Right.
Okay? But different things happen during a game where the spread or the outcome changes, right? A
Hmm.
touchdown or a fumble. So during games, during intraday games, you get huge fluctuations of whether it's 50-50. So there was one small bet I took over the weekend. I did it because I wasn't going to be in my computer. I was thinking, do I pay 50 cents, for the full payout, or do I put in some low bids,
Hmm.
right?
Sure.
At 10%, at 20%, trying to buy the dip. And I followed the charts on it a little bit. The wager that I had, the other team got up, it dropped down to like 15% probability. And then they ended up coming back and covering. This is going to be a huge market. You're
Yeah.
going to go to football games, and people are going to be sitting there on their phones trading.
I don't
This is
disagree.
gonna be yep. I hope, it better have good enough internet. So, but it's just not football, it's just not baseball, it's basketball, it's politics, it's how
Yeah.
long the government shutdown's gonna be. The proliferation to this now, Hood, Kelshi, I mean, they're aligning with the right people. The only thing that could go wrong is if the SEC CFTC comes in and step and
Kind of puts.
knocks this down. This
Yeah.
has huge potential. Bull, the other companies that are not doing it, if they are going to start doing it, it's late to the game. So
Yeah.
this is a huge expectation for Robinhood. It got a pop. Once again, the Robinhood chart doesn't look great either. That had just a slow and steady week. Actually, this had a multiple day losing streak. You never like to see that. 1 to 2, 2 or 3, 3 or 4, 4 or 5 down days. Had a down day on Friday too as well. You're well above the 50-day at 121.5. But just like the Amazon, you want to get a bottom here. You want to get a low. You want to turn up and see what kind of meaningful, retracement you can get out of this move. First red candle, folks, in Robinhood since April. And then it went down, or excuse, since May, and it went down to April down to 29.66. Now we had another little event that happened and turned it around. But if you're hopping in here at 133, 134, 135, and you're like, wow, this is so cheap. This is just, I'm getting this at such a discount. Look where it came from only April. I'm not sure when they come out with earnings here. So, yeah, you're getting a nice pop on this. Friday's high we're above Friday's high at 131.21. So, if you're looking for a gap fill, but if this is like the turnaround, this is good enough news, then this shade should just track up to Thursday's high at 137.48. So, there's some room if you can hold that high from Friday. Bull did that offering, and now I don't know. I haven't really heard any recent news, but it's really come down. I know we've been in the STN room. We've been talking about the $10 level, 10.50. It's drifted down toward that area, but not quite yet. So prediction market's big. Kelshi is the king, and we'll see. We'll see how it helps Robinhood moving forward.
And just to confirm something you're kind of asking about, Joel, Robinhood looks like they're going to report November 5th. So just a little heads up there. Our big mover, our big winner of the day, CELC, that's Celcuity, let's call it. They had some data over the weekend on Saturday. Positive results from a wild type advanced breast cancer treatment and also from a prostate cancer treatment. Shares of Celcuity trading up about 50 or 60% here this morning. You ever take a look at this chart, Joel?
Never, not once in my entire life.
Well, we're going to do it here together on Pre-Market Prep for the first time.
I guess I could go with my old prediction that if it takes out or matches the pre-market high, I will walk on my hands down the lodge, get off at whatever exit I go to. You go to your place, and 116.68. They got a little excited. Not sure what people have in this stock. Not as many people trade it. If I just look at the chart, look at the 15-minute chart, and say, I'm not going to spend any more time on this than giving one number. That number is $80. It's just bumped up against it over the last hour and a half. So, good news. If it gets to 80, well, then maybe 81, 82. But you got a little seller lined up in 80 in Celcuity. Celcuity?
I don't know. We'll have to call. A good tip if you don't ever know how to pronounce a company's name, call and they'll either have a machine who says it or the secretary will answer and you can ask them. We do have Craig Johnson coming up at 8:35 here a.m. folks in about 10 minutes or so. A couple more things here for you. Friday, we are going to be getting our first CPI reading in quite some time. Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be breaking in with that news. Right now, we have an expectation. I always like to look at the core CPI figure, which excludes food and energy. These are going to be the readings for September. Our core CPI reading on Friday is expected to be up 0.3%. Year over year inflation expected to show a 3.1% gain. Joel, do you have any sense here on prices, inflation over the last month or month and a half since we haven't gotten any readings?
I mean, everywhere you go, prices seem to be up, but those numbers seem to be in line. They're just giving the Fed a little bit of data so it can make its decisions. Looking at the TLT, it's had a nice run here. We have looked at the Fed funds tool. We have talked to our resident economist, Blue Putnam. There seems to be pretty much a foregone conclusion of another rate, cut this year, maybe two. I really don't think that unless it's like a super hot blow it out of the water number,
Yeah.
would change those expectations. But the rising unemployment, one of the dual priorities of the Fed, we are seeing that. So it's good. It's good to see that we'll be getting some more data. I just don't think that data that's going to be forthcoming, it's really going to change the outcome for interest rates for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I think you're right, Joel. I think that the government agreed to put this data out maybe just ahead of the Fed meeting, which is next week. on Wednesday next week. Actually, the meeting's always a 2-day meeting. It's going to be the 28th and the 29th. We hear about the decision on the 29th. And we also are going to be getting our last rate meeting of the year by the Fed on December 10th. We will not have a meeting for the month of November. Just a little heads up there. Earnings season, folks, kind of got kicked off last week. Not kind of, it did with our big banks. This week here, we are going to be getting into quite a number of notable earnings. We're going to start, we got a little earnings preview plan for you folks. We're going to start doing this. We'll probably have to take a little bit of a break to talk about Craig, talk with Craig, and maybe we can resume that discussion a little bit later. Cleveland Cliffs here this morning. One of our few names that reported, CLF. I see you got the chart up there, Joel. They reported a bit of a mixed quarter, a loss of 45 cents that was lower than expected. Analysts were looking for a loss of 48 cents. Sales did miss though, 4.73 billion versus a 4.9 billion estimate. Despite a little bit of a mixed report, investors, traders buying the stock. Shares are trading up about 9%, over $1 here this morning.
My brother-in-law likes to follow this stock. I know he's been involved in the steel industry and been following it for a long time through its ups and downs. The report sounds good. I mean, I don't know if I'd, call it great, but the price action is what we care about. Trading up $1.30, that's nearly 10% in the pre-market. That's a big move for a stock. We have levels, and we have levels. We're currently trading at 1458. We've traded actually higher than that. We've traded up to 1498. You can look at all this congestion. You can look at the triple top last week at 14 and a quarter. So I'm not going to try and predict it, the price action for today. I mean, I don't know what the expected move is in this one. But like if this is a good move and this is going to be a sustained move after posting a loss in Cleveland Cliffs, I'd expect over the next couple days to see a bid where all these highs were. Let's see if the institutions are willing to step up at $14 and make a bid. And that would be old resistance, new support. If you're looking at the monthlies here, you're trying to bust out here. Your last monthly high was 1434 back in November, and then it opens up to 1541. So good move here. Several up months in a row. A report that the street is liking so far. But I'd like to see whatever, hold on to the gains today. Don't think you'll see a gap fill. Wow. Yesterday, Friday's low was way down here at 14. No, that's not too bad. Friday's high at 14.14. I bet you if you're patient and you want to own the stock over the next couple weeks, I could get this under 14.20, maybe 14 to 14.20. So not chasing Cleveland Cliffs, up $1.50. And this is this moving any other steel stocks?
A little bit moving Steel Dynamics, a little bit. Let me see, maybe Nucor, NUE, yeah, a little bit. CMC is pretty quiet here, but Steel Dynamics is also going to be reporting here after the close tonight, so we will be getting a little bit more of an indication into the steel space. Let's kick over to Tuesday. We do have Craig Johnson in the background here. We'll get him on in just a couple minutes. Let's do Tuesday, Joel, and then we'll go get Craig. A couple stocks that I want to highlight, and I want you to take a look at the chart. We're going to have Tuesday morning, we're going to have Coca-Cola, KO, Philip Morris. You don't have to look at that one. GM tomorrow morning. Joel, why don't you take a look at either and or Coca-Cola and GM for us on the chart? They've been in focus lately, at least last week. A lot of people were talking about Coke as we were kind of freaking out in the markets about some issues. Coke was kind of doing a little bit better toward the end of last week. What's the chart telling you on Coke, Joel?
What the chart was telling me is that a couple of weeks ago, someone absolutely loved the $66 level. That was a major area of accumulation for almost a month, and now you got to pop. You're up back over the 50-day. I think, is this rip roaring bull market just going to continue with your material stocks and your AI stocks and just leave, forget about, or is some money starting to come out of stocks like Amazon and Robinhood looking for a little safer home, right? A little safer place to be. That would be your Coca-Colas and your staples. So nice move here off that recent low. Trying to get back expectations and earnings. They usually come in pretty flat, so I would come in and look at the expected move on this. But battling, let's look longer term at the 50-day moving average that comes in right about $68. So that's what you're looking. GM is had some news last week. It had a good decline, so the GM setup is a little bit better for me because you made a high, wasn't quite an all-time high, but the Bulls tried to right the ship here, and you can look at a simple retracement. 50% retracement comes right here at like the 58.5 area, maybe a little bit lower. So that's what you're currently trading right now. I'd like to see us hold a bid here and get back to that recent high of the move at 61.59.
All right, and then just to mention, just a little heads up, we are going to get a few names in the defense space. We're going to get Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Halliburton, Northrop Grumman tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, I want you to take a look at a couple of these, Joe. We're going to get Netflix tomorrow afternoon. We're also going to get Texas Instruments, TXN, and Intuitive Surgical ISRG. Please take a look at the Netflix and the TXN charts if you don't mind, Joel.
Talked about the Netflix quite detailed on Friday with Michael Pachter, and he sees some really major catalysts for the stock moving forward. He thinks there might be a little bit slow to implement, but he thinks they should be opening up the platform to outside movings, and he also thinks gaming is a big catalyst for this one. It's been quiet. Right, it's been a laggard as far as the overall market goes, but coming in, trying to hold the 50-day moving average. If you wanted to go longer term here, this has been in a real consolidation period. Actually, I'll do this for you folks at home and not watching on your phone in the subway. It might be a little bit hard to follow, but look at this trading range. 1260 pretty much marks the top of the trading range. And then on the downside here, boy, this kind of let's just call it like it's a big trading range, 135 points, but it's a $1,200 stock. So bulls and bears really battling out here. If you could clear that 1268, 1270 area, make a shot towards all-time highs, and then if you do get hit on the report, you have a good reference points from a couple weeks ago at the 1140 area. So quiet consolidation right in the middle of that consolidation and hugging the 50-day moving average.
Thanks for that, Joel. You want to take a look at TXN real quick? You want to go get Craig?
We could do TXN real quick.
Why not?
Hanging out near the low of the move. Get away down to $1.96. Get away from here, folks. It is feeling for a positive thing for the bulls. I could say, yeah, you're filling a gap here at 172.60. You do have multiple lows just above 170. So a little bit of pressure on this one. 170 holds, 170, 171 holds. It's a different story. But then again, once again, this market, strong market. And here you have a stock trading well below, well, not well below, but decently below. It's 50-day moving average of 187.
All right, Joel, let's go get Craig Johnson.
We are joined by Craig Johnson, CFA, CMT, Chief Market Technician over there at Piper Sandler. Craig, how you doing on this Monday morning?
I'm doing fine. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you. We can see you. And I'm always looking forward to your segments, but I'm really looking forward to this segment. Number one, I like the theme for your outlook that you sent out here, right? Short yardage fumble, right?
Back to you.
Using a football indicator here. And also, Craig, I don't know. I'll have to check the notes here under my desk, but I don't know how many times I've had you on the show
Mhm.
and your year-end target has been lower than we're currently trading.
That hasn't happened very often. And, the point that I guess I would make here, Joel, is that we're getting a little bit nervous about what we're seeing in this marketplace. We've been doing this for 30 years. Yes, I'm that old, that decrepit. But one of the biggest mistakes, Joel, that I have made over the years is I've been too quick to raise my price targets after a meaningful move in the market. And that's exactly sort of my concern about this tape right now. There needs to be a period of digestion. And then also, Joel, we put out this morning our weekly update for today. We titled it Trick or Treat. But the most important thing for all of your listeners to hear today is that one of the key indicators that we've used here at Piper Sandler for years is something we call our 40-week technique. And this is where we're measuring the percent of stocks that are above or below a rising or falling 40-week moving average. And then we use a 10-week moving average as a filter. And just last week, Joel, that actually flipped into a sell position. It has not been in a sell position since basically the end of April of this year. So my point is that the internals of this market are starting to wane here a little bit. And that's why I have not raised my target, because I was seeing ever since the end of August a deterioration in the participation of the overall stocks in the marketplace.
Is that something you have up handy to show us? And then let's talk about historical precedents with this. You've said you've been following it for 30 years, saying that you got this indication in April. Definitely coincides with a volatile time in the markets. But as we know with indicators and systems and everything, and it's not 100% here. But what's added to this thesis? I mean, come on, Craig, we got Q3 earnings. Earnings are going to be good. Beat and raise. I mean,
Right.
what are the other factors that are going here that making you be cautious? I won't say
Yeah, here's the other thing too. I'm trying to share the screen. Let
Mhm.
me see if it's going to let me do it. Your computer sharing tip. No, it's not letting me share it today, Joel, for some strange reason. Let me try it one more time. Screen share easiest with two monitors. Okay, I don't need to see that again. Share the screen.
Actually,
Your browser has blocked the screen. Change
okay, that's okay. Those firewalls, you know what? Why ask somebody to do something when you can do it yourself, right? And I just pulled this up here,
Yeah. So
and
the key thing that, Joel, that while you're bringing that up, that I wanted to point out to you is, to sort of show you these things. We have been tracking this particular indicator for quite some, again, going back for 30 plus years. And when we have seen these sell signals come into play, again, they don't have to come out immediately. You don't always know exactly why you're getting that sell signal. And one of the things, Joel, that I remember, very distinctly is we had a sell signal like in February of 2020. Okay. I was obviously a great sell signal ahead of time, but markets tend to sniff out a lot of these things, and you tend to see it with a deterioration in the overall breadth of the market. We also had a sell signal in June, July timeframe of 2007. And again, the one thing that I never know, Joel, is how far, this market could ultimately pull back and correct. If you pull up a chart of the S&P 500, one of the things that I would love to sort of point out for all the listeners here today is if you're looking to do trading, there's a couple things I like to add to the charts. I'm not sure you can do it with these, but I like looking at pivot points on,
Mhm.
and I think those are really helpful trading tools. And
What time period to pivot?
I typically look at a daily pivot point for trading purposes. And then the other point that I like to add into this would be looking at slow stochastics. And I use a lot of that for sort of currency trading with some of the alpha capture accounts that I do stuff with. And those have been really helpful tools. But specifically for the S&P 500, if you look at that chart on the left, you got a 15-minute chart. You've got a series of lower highs that have come into play there, okay? And you can see that across the top there, Joel. You got your one that was back on 10.15. You got your other one that was 10.16. You got the one that has come into play here on 10.17. And so the point I'm trying to make is if we're going to be making lower highs in here, I'm going to next be watching very carefully on your daily chart that 50-day moving average. Okay. And any sort of break below that 50-day moving average, I'm going to start to get nervous because when you throw an RSI, a 14-period RSI onto that chart too, you're starting to break through the midpoint on a momentum basis. And the last time we broke through that 14-period RSI was basically February earlier this year. And this is where I think a lot of the computer trading is going to kick in when you break through that midpoint on a momentum basis. You're sitting at 53 right now. You're at a really interesting sort of inflection point in this market. I've got deteriorating market breadth. We've got the government shutdown. And according to our economists, we're losing 0.2 out of GDP every single week that the government is shut down, which means that we are going to see some slowing growth. We're coming into earnings season here, and I'm starting to notice, Joel, a pickup in some of the more defensive parts of the market. I'm starting to see healthcare pick up. I'm starting to see improvements in some of the utilities and also consumer staples. So again, interesting sort of signs reading the tea leaves here in the market.
Yeah, actually, I got that RSI up there pretty quickly for you. And then
That's
I
pretty
figured,
amazing.
I'm like, oh, is this the right RSI? And then you go, yeah, it's at 53. I'm like, woo! I'm a CFA CMT Craig Johnson protege.
Yep. And Joel, what you should do is you should draw a solid line at 50 and just sort of make the observations back through time that when you start to go above or below that 50 level, that's a pretty good indication of a change in trend. Okay. And you can see when you go back through time and scrunch that chart up a little bit, when you go back to the February timeframe, when you did break through that 50 level, there you go.
I'm doing, man. I'm going to need a break after this. Holy mackerel. Look at all this stuff.
You need a strong cup of coffee. But if you go back and you look at when you first broke through 50 back in that February timeframe, you notice that if you would have simply traded the market based upon that 50 line at RSI, you would have been out of the market February 22nd or 23rd, stayed out of the market until you broke back above it, which means you didn't get the absolute low, but you avoided a lot of pain to the downside and you caught a big chunk of the move up to the upside. And just now you're about to break back through the 50. So I would not be surprised, Joel, in coming weeks, if not month, that you see the S&P correct all the way to 6150, 6200 range before you find your footing next. And then at that point in time, we'll set yourself up for a really strong move into year end, but you're definitely setting yourself up for a pretty good correction. And again, this is why, Joel, when you dig underneath the dust bunnies under your desk, why I have the S&P trading above my year-end price target, why I haven't changed it. It's definitely a trading pullback is probably due.
So with the 6,600 target, but you think there's a possibility like 6,100. Help me, Craig. I can't even think about 6,100. I can't even think. But what kind of time frame are you talking about here?
I'm saying that you could see this play out over the next several weeks, if not months. Okay. And it's going to be pretty quick. And you got to remember, in bull markets, Joel, pullbacks and corrections are very sharp, very fast, and then you resume. And that's exactly what you could do. This would be sort of a normal pullback that could happen very quickly. And again, you don't often hear this from me. So this is not, right. This is usually, for me, I'm more optimistic, but right now you're at an interesting sort of inflection point in this tape that you just can't ignore.
All right, a lot of people like to talk about the volatility and the volatility index, and we've all know that even though the market's been going up and going up nicely today, going towards the VIX has been elevated here, and sometimes that could be a warning sign. Going
Absolutely.
back to your work, following the VIX, following other indicators here, is this just another warning shot to investors?
It is another warning sign. You've got the VIX at these levels. You can also go see across the street that ownership levels for retail investors are at some of the highest levels we've had for years. It sort of seems like everybody's in that wants to be sort of in on this tape. And then the question becomes, what's going to be sort of the catalyst that sort of tips this tape over? Not as sure I always exactly know. I certainly didn't know that COVID was coming, but we had a sell signal before. I didn't know that you had the great financial crisis coming before. So could be government related, could be all sorts of different things.
Could be the shutdown.
Yeah, could be. You know, you also just downgraded debt. The French sovereign debt rating just got downgraded. There's a ton of things. If this government shutdown lasts longer, maybe they decide to downgrade U.S. debt too. Don't know. There could be a ton of reasons or things that could be coming. We could speculate all day long, but what we do here, Joel, is we look at charts. And when you look at the evidence of the charts, you can very clearly see we're putting in some lower highs. We're going to retest that 50-day, and that 14-period momentum should be obeyed. Period.
All right, let's move it around a little bit here because you're not all negative, right? No. You have healthcare sector here, and I like this.
Look at that
heartbeat in healthcare.
Yeah, look at that long-term chart. You came right back to the long-term uptrend support line. You're seeing that momentum at the very bottom of that chart is starting to improve. There's just a lot of charts that are starting to pop up. I mean, look at the longer term chart setup on something like a Medtronic, right? Like everybody hates Medtronic. I bring it up to them and they just want to sort of vomit when I bring that up to them. And when you also go through and maybe just pull up the individual chart, might be easier and faster for you, Joel.
Okay. All right, let's talk about Medtronic.
Yeah, but that is just one of these names that, from my perspective, look at the huge monthly base that has been forming that you're now starting to move out of. Like a natural swap candidate would be to sell your Boston Scientific and buy Medtronic.
Little bit of a pairs trade there.
Look at how Boston can't get through those old highs on your shorter term chart, and you're violating your uptrend now on your monthly chart. All right, other ideas that have stood out to us in healthcare. Look at Exact Sciences, EXAS, otherwise known as poop in a box. And, you look at this chart on the monthly, and you're just starting to reverse your downtrend off of those 23 highs. It's kind of interesting that that's happening. You found really good support at 40. Find that pretty interesting. Also, take a look at a chart of Halozyme, HALO. We think this one on a pullback. Again, I'm not going to show you all the pretty charts, but this one on a pullback a little deeper here would be a pretty interesting name because biotech is starting to work. Flag something in here that could be closer to about 61, 62 range would be pretty interesting. We'd also call out, take a look at IQV under the contract research organizations. Again, this would be a beneficiary of biotech testing coming along.
Okay.
Look at the nice sort of reversal you're starting to see here. You can see that on your 15-minute chart. And if we get back above, on the monthly chart, you got the nice downtrend reversal starting there too. So again, there's a lot of things in healthcare that are popping up that we haven't seen in quite some time.
Okay, so two questions here, two things before we let you go. People are looking like, what's the catalyst? And what you're saying is that you don't know what the catalyst is, but this is what the technicals are telling you. This is based on your many years of experience, looking at that 40-week, looking at the breadth, looking at all these things.
Eyes indicators.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And if Joel, if you wanted another catalyst, I mean, let's just think about this. If you're a corporation, government shut down, you do a lot of business with them, you certainly have to pull back your sort of forward thinking guidance, or you have to temper it. Because if you're doing a lot of business with the government, you have no idea when it reopens, when you
That's a
really
great
start to
point.
spend again. And so we're going to be heading into an earnings season where maybe we end up with a little bit more uncertainty.
So you're saying on the beat, don't like being that super jumpy algo lifting offers. It's like beat, put guidance,
And then
right?
Exactly. And then you start looking at charts like Seagate, Western Digital, some of these things. Like these stocks have been absolutely moonshots off the lows. And, again, you're starting to lose some momentum on some of these names. So again, I view these as great companies, but due for some profit taking. I mean, your 15-minute chart there looks like it wants to stall a little bit at that shorter term moving average. So a lot of air underneath these.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, Craig, we got one issue that I just have not been able to get. Sometimes I get a good feel for stock technically, and then sometimes I don't. And Tesla here. We're getting a lot of questions about Tesla. Of course, also a big market mover here. I had like this 420 area. I thought, wow, look at all those. As long as it holds above 420, well, it gave you one day when it dipped. Actually, gave you a couple days, but the one that probably caught people off guard was when it went to 411.45 here. Still long consolidation period, holding support here. What is your take on Tesla?
It's a stock that is just marking time, and it may need to continue to keep marking time. So what I've been observing with a lot of these charts, Joel, is some of these Mag 7 stocks have just been sort of marking time. They haven't been putting up as much good relative performance. And again, another poor report we put out, not last week, but the week before, is we said, looking at tech stocks beyond the Mag 7, because there's been so many other names that have performed better than this, such as your Seagates, your Western Digitals, your Coinbases, your Robinhoods, blah, 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 all those other names. Do you realize that none of the Mag 7 stocks were among the 10 best performing stocks off the April lows? Again, tech is still leadership, but it's beyond the Mag 7, Joel. There's a lot of other names out there that are performing. I mean, Palantir is another one that's been in that category. There's so many other names. And this is sort of the worrisome part that I've got is like, if we're sort of going to leak money out of the Mag 7 to go down cap, which I do think will probably happen, we're going to see more of the Russell names probably perform a little bit better, which seems totally backwards because they're not viewed as high quality. But at the end of the day, money leaking out of some of those Mag 7, keep in mind, some of these Mag 7 stocks have a market cap that's greater than the entire Russell 2000. So just a little bit of money coming out could definitely power more of the Russell names. And there's a lot of biotech stocks that look great. Let me give you one example. Take a look at this one. It's sort of off the radar for people, but look at LENZ. They have a new approved eye drop that will correct your vision so you can actually read your iPhone if you're over the age of 50. Look at the base that's been forming on your monthly chart.
I like the name.
It's catchy.
Lens Therapeutics.
Correct. So you're seeing a lot of biotech stocks that are starting to pop their head up that are sub $1 billion or right around $1 billion market cap. That could be some pretty interesting winners. And if the Fed is going to be cutting rates, some of these long dated securities might do better.
All right, Craig. We love it when you're bullish. We love it when you're bearish. We like it when you're cautious. And I'll put you in the cautious camp right now. We've been on the line with Craig Johnson, CFA, CMT, Chief Market Technician over there at Piper Sandler. This was such a good segment. I got to get you on again before the end of the year, Craig.
Let's do it, Joel.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Piper.
Later, Craig.
Okay. Redster, how you doing? What do you got for me?
I want a word from our lovely sponsor, Hive Digital Technology. Thanks to Hive for sponsoring the show. Hive is a global leader in green power data centers for Bitcoin mining, high performance computing, and AI operating with nearly half a gigawatt of production. We're expecting to be around 3% for the end of this year. By the end of this year, there is a QR code in the bottom right corner of your screen. You can scan that, or you can click the link that is in the description of this YouTube video if you want to learn more about Hive. You got the chart on screen there, Joel. Want to resume our little earnings preview that we were doing, and it was a good kind of segue to jump back to us because we were about to be talking Tesla, but you and Craig kind of did it when he was on. Tesla will be reporting Wednesday after the close, along with a few other names here, including IBM, AT&T, Las Vegas Sands, a couple here in the networking space, Lam Research, KLAC, KLA10 Core. On Thursday, we're going to be getting earnings out of Intel, Ford, Deckers, Southwest Air, American Air, Freeport, T-Mobile. Joel, why don't we just pause here for 1 sec and give us a little technical take on Intel ahead of its earnings scheduled for Thursday.
Okay. Been running, and it's got the government investment. It had to gap up. It also I believe, had to deal with, did it Nvidia invest in them? That's when they hit the AMD. The thing that's interesting about this chart, and I think if you go back and look at your upgrades and downgrades lately stuff, the street has been getting a little bit cautious on this stock here after this meteoric rise. So,
Yeah.
the money what are they going to do? Is this going to come out in the next quarter? All of a sudden, they've mystically, magically turn things around, or is it just going to be the same old Intel? But right now, I mean, you have a strong bid. Probably last month was one of the best months it's had in quite some time. Actually, working on a 3-month winning streak. It's doubled since it was at the $20 level. So right now, current trend is up, and the trend is your friend. Let's see what they say. Let's see about what they're doing, moving forward, what new chips they have, who's going to buy their new chips. That's what you want to. That's what you want to hear on Intel later in the week. But it's been a nice run. I mean, you can't complain about the gains if you're nervous about the report. There's things that you can do besides taking profits, option strategies and stuff. But
Sure.
Intel looking good, trading up today, 51 cents. I believe that's above Friday's high. Is it a Friday's high? No, not quite yet. 38.38. You have poked your head over 38 in the last two sessions, 38.02 and 38.38. Your high close for the move is up near 38.2 at 37.80. That was on October 9th.
All right, Joel, and just wrapping the week up here on Friday, we're going to be expecting Procter & Gamble PG and also General Dynamics GD. That should be your earnings highlights for the week, folks. Let's do a couple quick rating changes here. We like to do rating changes kind of in the last 5 or 10 minutes. We got a couple minutes here left. Apple was upgraded here this morning, upgraded to buy with a $315 price target at Loop Capital. How do you feel about the Apple chart recently, Joel?
Let's get some love here. I
Yeah.
think this is important. This is big. Apple here, which it had been a laggard in the run, but once again, when you started making friends in the White House and building factories in the United States, it just ignited just an unbelievable run here. I believe it did make a new all-time high. This is a big move, up $4.50, 1.78%. That's over 3 times what the S&P is trading here, trading at the highs of the pre-market session. I will say 256.36. It's trading above it right now, but that is your highest level since October 10th. If that's not good enough for you, 258 was the day prior. All-time high 258.52. All-time closing high 258.06. I mean, and I also saw it was more than one analyst. I thought it got analyst love from a couple different people. So if you took this home overnight, if you were buying some cheap calls, You were hoping, the strong follow through in the S&P would be a catalyst for this stock, and you got an upgrade. Well, I mean, you got everything working for you. Let's see how it holds up off the open. Well, you don't even know how it will open yet, but a lot of people that bought it last week, the week before, getting their losses back. So keep an eye. Make sure it holds this elevated level off the open.
Joel, let's do one more real quick here. US Rare Earth, that's USAR, got a new outperform. That's the equivalent of a buy rating at William Blair. This has been one of our probably, I would say, top 10 stocks that investors have been focused on the last few weeks or so. How do you like or don't like this chart, Joel?
Well, if I was shorted, I'd be like, oh, what are they doing to me? But I'm not, have no position. I mean, you're getting off the mat. First things first, let's prove we can hold Friday's high. Friday's high comes in at 29.89. You're trading right here. Is this going to be the ones where you just run, you look right? You don't even really, need to look left. If they really want to run with this, they're going to hold that 30 bid off the open. Won't even float down to that close of 27.73. And then you have nothing but air between 30 and 34. And then mystically, magically, 34 comes in comes in for mid-range on the session. So really hard to throw out numbers in a stock that went from 35.92 to 31.40 in just one day. 33.68, that was your close on Wednesday. Thursday's high, 34.03. So let's see if it can hold this elevated level and get up the 34s. Seeing it, not believing it, is going to get there today.
All right, Joel, you want to jump over to Stock Trader Network?
I sure do.
Let's do it.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us. Triple D is flying, trying to catch that flight to get back, and we'll be back with y'all tomorrow morning.